Imagine stepping off a ship into the New World. 115 men, women, and children carving out a village on a wild, uncharted island. And then, 3 years later, gone. No graves, no battles, not a single body. Only one haunting clue carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. For over 400 years, no one has solved the mystery. What really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? The story begins with Sir Walter Raleigh, who aimed to establish an English base in the New World for raiding Spanish ships. After a promising scouting mission in 1584, he sent 115 settlers to the coast of modern-day North Carolina in 1587. Led by Governor John White, the group included his daughter, who gave birth to Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. The colonists were left on Roanoke Island against their will, forced to rebuild an old fort as winter approached. The colony quickly ran low on supplies, forcing John White to sail back to England. His return was delayed for 3 long years by a war between England and Spain. When he finally made it back on his granddaughter's 3rd birthday in 1590, he found the settlement completely empty. The houses were gone, and the only trace of the colonists was the word Croatoan carved on a post. There was no sign of the prearranged distress signal, suggesting they had not left in a panic. So, what happened to them? There are 3 main theories. The first is that they all died, whether from starvation, disease, or an attack. The second is that they moved, splitting up and integrating with local native tribes. The third theory, a combination of the first 2, is that environmental disaster forced them to relocate, and the survivors were then absorbed into native communities. Let's consider the possibility that they simply perished. Tree ring data shows that the region suffered the worst drought in 800 years between 1587 and 1589, which would have made farming nearly impossible. Yet, archaeologists have never found a mass grave at the site, which would be expected if the colonists had died from famine or disease. Spain was aware of the English colony, but their archives contain no reports of an attack, making a Spanish massacre unlikely. The word Croatoan was not a mystery. It was the name of an island about 50 miles south of Roanoke, as well as the name of the friendly tribe who lived there. Before White left, the colonists had agreed to carve their destination onto a post if they had to move. The message seems to be a clear, pre-planned signal indicating where they went. Unfortunately, storms prevented White from sailing to Croatoan to investigate. Over the following centuries, clues began to surface that supported the idea of assimilation. In 1607, Jamestown leader John Smith heard reports from natives about people with European features living inland. In the early 1700s, an explorer met Hatteras Indians who had English surnames and European objects. More recently, archaeological digs on Hatteras Island have uncovered 16th century English artifacts, including part of a sword and a ring, strongly suggesting a European presence. Even more compelling evidence has been found inland. A hidden symbol on a map drawn by John White pointed researchers to a location 50 miles west of Roanoke. There, archaeologists found European pottery from the colonists' time period, mixed in with local native wares. Nearby, they discovered a European-style coffin dating to around 1590 in what was once a native village. This suggests some of the Roanoke settlers relocated there. The search for answers has also turned to genetics and folklore. A DNA project has found some rare European genetic markers in modern native families who claim descent from the colonists, though the results are not yet conclusive. Just as powerful are the oral traditions of local tribes, which have long maintained that their ancestors took in the English settlers, and that they were already living in the area when other Europeans arrived. Could a powerful native confederacy have wiped them out? A chief did claim to have done so, but archaeological digs at his capital have found no English artifacts from the period to support his story. A more plausible scenario is that the starving colonists broke into smaller groups and sought help from different native tribes. These tribes, having been severely depopulated by European diseases, may have welcomed the newcomers. The most current theory combines all this evidence. It suggests the colonists split up after the settlement failed due to a devastating drought. One group likely went to Croatoan Island as their message indicated, while others moved inland up the rivers. They sought refuge with different native groups, and over decades they assimilated. Their English tools wore out, their language faded, and they became part of the native population. Despite all these clues, the mystery endures because no definitive proof, a smoking gun, has ever been found. There is no diary, no grave marked with their names, and no sign explicitly identifying a new settlement. Time and nature have complicated the search. The original shoreline has eroded, and hurricanes have buried or scattered potential evidence. Each new discovery adds another piece to the puzzle, but the full picture remains incomplete. What's your theory on what happened to the lost colony? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and share this video with anyone fascinated by historical mysteries. Your idea might just be the next piece of the puzzle. The best evidence suggests the 115 settlers of Roanoke didn't simply vanish. They walked into the forests and across the sounds of North Carolina to start new lives. The colony wasn't truly lost. It was absorbed, blending into the native cultures that were already there. Until a definitive artifact is unearthed, the case remains technically unsolved. But perhaps the real story isn't one of a mysterious death, but of survival, adaptation, and the enduring human spirit.